you have got to go to offthehooksports.com and read Caleb's latest story. It all went downhill, we all know, in 2008 when Philip Fulmer was fired, and we know what happened since. It was a guy named Lane Kiffin, followed by a guy named Derek Dooley, Butch Jones, and Jeremy Pruitt. And Tennessee was in a decade of dysfunction, or whatever you want to call it. It was bad for a long, long time, which gives Tennessee, be it Danny White, Josh Heupel, Tony Vitello, whoever you want to pick, a lot of credit and a lot of credence with Tennessee's fan base. As Caleb, you wrote, Tennessee truly rose from the ashes. And it wasn't an overnight thing. It wasn't a one hire thing of go out and get John Gruden. It was, as Nick Saban likes to say, a process. How impressive nationally has this, albeit slow, turnaround been for the University of Tennessee?
Extremely impressive. And it's also proof that turnarounds don't happen with like, oh, here's a blueprint and here's exactly how it's going to go. You kind of stumble your way forward into turnarounds, because Tennessee is the only program since the dawn of the BCS era in 1998 to make both men's and women's College World Series, both men's and women's Sweet 16, and win a football New Year's Six / BCS Bowl all in the same academic calendar. Tennessee, every single coach in that group was hired by a different athletic director, half of whom were forced out because of their own issues.
You pointed that out yesterday, and it's one of those things you know, but you don't think about. And when you said it, I was like, man, that is crazy. They did kind of stumble into that. That's not a knock on Tennessee or Danny White or anybody else. But did you know Tony Vitello would be this great? Did you know Rick Barnes would fall into your lap? No, you didn't know any of that stuff. You knew you had the weeklies. And my biggest question, though, more than the personalities and the success level of all those coaches, did you know you would have a guy on the top that could do two things? Because basically athletic directors need to do two things. Just two. Caleb has a list of stuff every day he has to do. I have a list of stuff I have to do. Your job, you probably have a list of stuff you have to do. There are two things you have to do as an athletic director. Hire the right coaches and raise money. It's that simple. You could show up in your underwear to work and you would still get athletic director of the year if you're able to do those two things at a high level. So Tennessee
if you hire the right athletic director, that might actually raise some money on its own.
That's true. That's true. So you have it's calendar of SEC athletic directors. Here we go. But you have, by the way, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so we can bring some more people in. But Danny White was not the one athletic director. There were a lot of athletic director decisions. So I'm not ready to give him an A+ grade on that yet, but Heupel gets him in the A level without a question. But I will say this, the raising money thing, be it NIL or now with the new addition they're going to do in around Neyland Stadium and Thompson Bowling Arena, that's going to turn that area into an event sort of thing where you could literally one day, and this is not outside the realm of possibility, you could have Justin Timberlake playing Neyland Stadium. These types of things have been done before with Kenny Chesney, and I was at the Michael Jackson concert back in the mid-'80s. They have that. So if I had to pick one person, and we'll get to that, it's probably Danny White. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go ahead and turn it to Four Downs. Four Downs brought to you today by our new friends at Zen Sports. I'll tell you more about that. It is Four Downs brought to you by Zen Sports, the new way to gamble in Tennessee. Four Downs now.
Four Downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show. Four Downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, so we're going to ask, what was the turning point? What person was the most important? What coach was the most important? Probably second to Heupel. And should this be the new norm at Tennessee? We'll get to all those. And it's brought to you by Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. With Zen Sports, your rewards are cash rewards. You bet with real money, and now you're rewarded with it too. Use the promo code HOOKED. Use the promo code HOOKED, and there is no cap on the 3% cash back, the 3% cash back that you get. So check it out. You earn cash commission on your referral bets as well. It's fantastic. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and over and in Tennessee to bet. So Cooper Mays, what should we do? I think we should get to first down. Let's do that right now.
Coop here. First down.
What was the turning point for Tennessee in their rise from the ashes? Phoenix, what was the one turning point, Caleb Calhoun, if you had to pick? And feel free to fill us out on the message board, and we will get right to you as we always do. But the one turning point was what?
Can I do this twofold? Can I say the turning point on the fall and the turning point on the rise? Because yes. So the turning point on the fall was just the year 2010. Lane Kiffin bolting, and then Bruce Pearl getting caught with NCAA sanctions. And quite honestly, just in 2010 to 2011, and then Pat Summitt getting struck with dementia. Just those three things that happened was just all within a year was a disaster for the program.
And it will lead me to the new norm, which we'll get to in a later down. Okay, so what was the turning point for the positivity for things to get better quickly?
So the turning point
quickly, things got better semi-quickly.
The turning point for the positivity for me was the protest of the Schiano hire. Now, I know that led to Philip Fulmer, which had its own disasters, but I do think here's the big thing that turning point did. That turning point pushed out the power that the Haslams had wielded over the university like feudal lords that Jimmy Haslam had basically run Tennessee into the ground. That fan revolt really it forced him to take a step back. And once he took a step back, I think even though Tennessee made the wrong hire with Fulmer, who made the wrong hire with Pruitt, they weren't going to be long-term stuck in making wrong hires.
I'm going to go a step higher in that. I think the turning point was Donde Plowman taking over as the chancellor at Tennessee. I think she is very decisive. I think she's smart. I think she takes input. She took over in 2019 as chancellor of the University of Tennessee. You want to go back to the 90s when you had Joe Johnson was the president. You knew that Big Jim Haslam, not Jimmy Haslam, was your main booster. You knew your athletic director was a guy named Doug Dickey. You knew the football coach was going to be Philip Fulmer. I think that Plowman, as best she could, brought that sense of stability. So I will say that was the one turning point to the positive. Coop, what down?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right, second down. What person was the most important? I gave mine away. It's Donde Plowman.
What person was the most important to the turnaround? Man, Dave, I want to disagree with you, but I think you're right. I mean, it is Donde Plowman. I mean, there's no really other way around that.
Now, I think a strong argument could be made for Danny White. Maybe she got lucky. Maybe she'll hire a bad athletic director in the future, but I don't think that's the case based off everybody that I talked to that has had any interaction with her. She is the one person in the room that doesn't get enough credit. Third down, Cooper Mays.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
What coach was most important? It's Josh Heupel, right? Okay.
It's obviously Heupel.
Yeah. Who's second to Heupel?
All right, hot take on here. It is Tony Vitello. Now, I say that because Tennessee basketball is at a place now, given the state of college basketball, where if they didn't hire Rick Barnes, they were going to hire a good coach somewhere. It's not, you can find a pretty good coach that's going to succeed at Tennessee. Baseball's very dependent on the right coach. And Tennessee had massive failures with Todd Raleigh and Dave Serrano. And so getting Tony Vitello, that's the second most important coach.
I think the second most important is Rick Barnes falling in your lap. I think that there's a really good chance Tennessee would have blown that higher at the time. But Rick Barnes falls in your lap. I know that you're not very high on Rick Barnes as far as a championship coach, and I tend to agree with you. However, you have that base of you're always going to be knocking on the door at the Sweet 16, which makes you relevant. Vitello seems to be red hot, or not. And like last year when they flamed out, that was disappointing. He did bring a lot of attention to the program. But I feel like Barnes is a good, consistent base in your second most lucrative revenue sport. So I would go with Barnes falling in their lap. I don't know that Tennessee gets a lot of credit for that, but I would go with Barnes falling in their lap.
I mean, I understand that. I just think that Tennessee basketball was going to be successful with, I think they would have found the right coach eventually in basketball. I mean, on paper, Donnie Tyndall wasn't a bad hire until you realize that the guy had a gigantic academic fraud scandal. But I tell you this right now. As a basketball tactician, if Donnie Tyndall had stayed at Tennessee, he'd have won a national championship. Dude is a brilliant basketball mind.
He was strong. He showed up on my Facebook friend list the other day as posting something. Maybe we'll reach out to Donnie Tyndall. How many years does he have left on that show cause?
Let's see, 2, I believe.
Huh. How much longer has Rick Barnes got?
On his contract?
No, just how much longer do you think he wants to coach?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Tennessee's not going to hire Donnie Tyndall back. I can guarantee you that right now.
Just a thought. Just a thought. 4th down, Coop.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
Okay, I said this back in 1998 and 99 and 2000 when Tennessee's football team was at its best, when the Lady Vols were fantastic, and you had guys like Ron Slay led by Jerry Green making crazy runs. That shouldn't be expected to be the new norm, but it should be the new norm. And what I mean by that is don't get upset if one of those programs slip and you have to address it. But is this the new norm? That's my simple question. 4th down. 4 downs brought to you by Zen Sports.
I think it is. I think it is because of Danny White. Even though Danny White didn't make a lot of these hires, I think Danny White's understanding of NIL, his understanding of the future of college athletics, it's going to make Tennessee the new norm. Look, Danny White single-handedly made Central Florida's going to the Big 12 next year because of what Danny White did. For those who don't remember this, South Florida was the big-time smaller program in Florida. UCF and South Florida have a rivalry. South Florida was a bigger program than UCF. Now UCF is the bigger program. And they're about to be a Power 5 school because of what Danny White did. And now he's at Tennessee, and he's being forward-thinking in the same way. What Danny White is doing is not resting on laurels or tradition. He's very big on, I think Tennessee fans have a really big problem sometimes saying, well, we're Tennessee. Obviously we can do this. Obviously we can get that. They felt that way with football for a long time. They go, oh, we can just recruit because we're Tennessee football and the tradition, not understanding you got to do more than that to get athletes nowadays. And I think Danny White understands that a lot better than the fan base does.
Travis asking me if I had the bedazzled glove for the Michael Jackson concert. I did. I don't think I wore it back in, was that 85 or 86 when they were at Neyland Stadium? We've seen Kenny Chesney do that sort of thing. What concert would you most like to see at Neyland Stadium? Is there anyone in particular that stands out?
I mean, Taylor Swift, obviously.
Taylor Swift. All right, maybe she can open for Metallica because that would be my choice. It's time for, by the way, Metallica looks really good for pushing 60. Have you seen any of their clips lately?
I have not.
Do you want me to send them to you or will you just delete them?
I know of Metallica, but I like, don't get me wrong. I was getting into music when they were big. I got into alternative rock a little bit after them, but still.
That's not alternative rock. That's great rock. What is...
Whatever.
I mean, that is fantastic rock. That's not alternative at all. What the?
Okay. So when I first started listening, there was the Metallica ripoff, which I'm not saying they were good, but Korn was big when I was listening. When they had the DJ.
That's bad music.
Yeah. And so I was listening to Rage Against the Machine. But see, that was the new metal phase. I got obsessed with Linkin Park in the early 2000s.
Sorry about that.